Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Mauricio Kobian and I'm representing the UCLA International Education Office, and today I'm going to be leading today's Study Abroad for Engineering Majors session. So who we are, the UCLA International Education Office is the one-stop shop for undergraduate study abroad opportunities. And at the Study Abroad Office, you can meet with study abroad advisors, study abroad coordinators where we can discuss your program options, what kind of coursework is offered here, how to apply, how to look at resources for scholarships, things like that. And one of the amazing resources that we also have available to us is that we often have a roster of study abroad returnees. These are students that have already studied abroad. They had an amazing time. And if you're interested, they'd be happy to connect with you and tell you about if you're looking at a specific program. They can tell you a little bit more of that from a student perspective, something that naturally ourselves as study abroad advisors or coordinators can't always do for every program. This session is part of our Global Learning Opportunities Week, and during which we're hosting a number of sessions, major related sessions, finances related sessions, other academic disciplines, sessions around student identity. So today's our last day. So if you've missed any of the sessions, visit our website to explore some of those sessions that have already been recorded and are accessible on demand. This is the agenda that we have for today. We have our welcome that I've just shared. I'm going to touch a little bit about the elephant in the room, obviously COVID-19, how that's impacting study abroad. I'm going to cover a few Study Abroad 101 refreshers. We're going to focus then on how to study abroad in your major, followed by sample programs, and we're going to conclude with the Q&A with our study abroad returnees. So study abroad in COVID-19. As of today, our summer 2021 programs and on are scheduled to run. Naturally, as I'm sure you all understand with the evolving situation, that can change tomorrow, it can change a week from now, it can change 2 months from now. But as of today, they are scheduled to run. The Study Abroad Office is continuously monitoring the safety abroad to ensure that these programs are safe, not only for our students, but also for our faculty members. So that is our priority to, whether we decide that a program is going to run ultimately or not. We are sensitive to student timelines. We know that by a certain time, you need to make certain financial commitments, and we keep those in mind. We're making adjustments to those, and we're trying to make sure that, that students can make an informed choice when selecting a program. One of the other ways that we're also supporting students is for those of you interested in studying abroad during the academic year, as you're planning to study abroad in other times, a student wouldn't enroll in their UCLA classes. But this time, because of the uncertainty, let's say you're interested in studying abroad for fall 2021, we are allowing students to maintain a fall 2021 UCLA enrollment up to a certain time. If it's getting closer to the start of the semester or UCLA term, at that point, you will have to make a decision whether you're going to keep your UCLA enrollment or study abroad. But if the study abroad program falls through, then it is easier for a student to return to campus. Again, but I want to be clear that you wouldn't be able to enroll at UCLA and study abroad at the same time. We're also developing virtual alternatives. So let's say a program doesn't run. More details are going to be offered a little bit more in mid-November in terms of what that's going to look like. And it's going to be for select programs only. More than ever, studying abroad requires flexibility and patience, but this year it's going to be even more important given the evolving nature of the pandemic and how that's handled in different countries. The last point that I want to make as related to this topic, if you need to renew or apply for a passport, we encourage you to do that as soon as possible. If you're going to be studying abroad on a US passport, that means you're a US national, US citizen. The US Department of State processes those applications, and they have a huge backlog because those offices were closed for so long. Typically, a passport would take 6 to 8 weeks to process. Now it might take a few months. So if you are interested in studying abroad this coming summer or this coming fall, just start looking at this as soon as possible. We want to make sure that you have a passport in time for when you need to study abroad. So a couple of Study Abroad 101 refreshers. We've shared that this session builds on our Study Abroad 101 recording. If you missed that, you're going to be okay. I'm going to be offering some refreshers to at least help you, go through this presentation. Otherwise, if you've missed the 101, I do encourage you to go to that link and explore it. The difference between the one-on-one and what we're going to cover today is that we've tried to split it up. We know Zoom can be tiresome and lengthy, so we want to split it up the content. In the one, we're going to focus on the program types and the specific details of those program types, how credits transfer, the cost and funding of study abroad programs, the application process, and the timeline. For today's session, it's going to be a much more narrow. We're going to focus on any major guidelines that the School of Engineering has for you. One of our guests, your advisors, is here to chime in a little bit on that. We're going to highlight programs with a focus or strong offerings in engineering disciplines or a specific part of the world. And we're going to have some study abroad returnee advice via the Q&A. So those are the differences between the two components. Program types. I'm going to talk big picture here. There's different program types of study abroad. Often students might think that there's only one, and often I think people refer to, people usually think of the first type, the traditional university immersion model. This is the one where a student would attend a school, let's say like University College London in the UK, and that student takes whichever courses they want with those local professors and those local students. This is where, for example, a mechanical engineer student can take 2 engineering courses towards and work towards a major, and take 2 courses towards their general education requirement. So that's what we refer to as a traditional university immersion model. We also then have new types, including the UCLA faculty-led programs. These are experiential courses on the go where you're taking courses with a UCLA professor, and they're teaching a UCLA specific course, but it's more experiential, it's more interactive. They're taking you to specific sites as they relate to the individual, to the content that they're sharing. So it's a lot more engagement in that sense. There's also internship and research opportunities where you can do intern at a startup in Berlin or conduct fieldwork in Costa Rica. There's dozens of those opportunities as well. We have a cohort model. This is one where you have a group of UCLA students that goes abroad to one of 3 different cities. They meet local students and they take classes at a local university for a summer program, about 4 to 5 weeks, and they all return to UCLA, including those local students, and then take courses at UCLA summer sessions. While you're abroad, those local students are showing you the ropes. They're kind of getting to know each other. You get to know you through a social program, and then you reciprocate when you return back to UCLA. So that's a special model that we also have. We also have something that I refer to as the UC Center programs. This is where you're taking courses exclusively with your UC peers. For the record, there's no wrong or right way to do study abroad. There's just, again, different formats that might be more, more adequate for different students. And there's dozens of other types as well, but I can't go into all those details right now. So I'm just going to give you sort of a big picture that there's different types of study abroad experiences out there. Financial aid. One of the basics that I want to cover with financial aid is, a common question: can I use my UCLA financial aid on a study abroad program? And the answer is yes. Eligible students can use UCLA financial aid to cover the cost of any UC affiliated study abroad programs. That financial aid package is going to be comprised of grants if students are eligible, loans, and scholarships if students are applying to scholarships as well. Grant funding might be limited for summer programs. There's some certain grants that you can't use for the summer, but other than that, often you can use the same sort of access the same types of grants. And generally, a student must take a minimum of 8 units to trigger that financial aid packaging. When to apply? Oops. Students would apply as early as 9 months before the start of the program. So anybody interested in this coming summer, a lot of our programs are already open, and other programs are going to open in the month of November. But you could potentially apply as late as 4 months before the start of the program, but just keep in mind, programs are going to fill up, programs are going to close, and the deadlines are going to vary from one program to another. So we simply encourage students to start applying sooner than later. We're often asked if these programs are competitive, and I'm going to say that the answer is generally no. Most of them are first come, first serve. There are exceptions, but I guess one of the main points that I want to make is that if students think that applying to study abroad requires a personal statement, a letter of recommendation, and essays and things like that, for most of our programs, that's not the case. There are some that is the case. They're more competitive programs, but most of study abroad is not that way at UCLA. And in terms of what you can apply or register for right now, as I shared, a number of our summer fall programs are already open to apply. And some of our UCLA run programs are actually going to open in the month of November. For students interested in winter spring 2022 programs, those are going to open around the first week of winter quarter. So studying abroad as a UCLA engineering major, I'm going to first cover some general topics, which is actually not studying in your major, but then we're going to have someone from your department to tell you a little bit more of the nuance of studying abroad in your major or how to go about this process. So one thing that we're trying to sort of get the word out on there is that students are not obligated to study abroad in their major. Students can alternatively focus on things like their GEs, a minor, foreign language, which I don't think you all have, but technical breadth, units, or simply personal or professional development. In either of these cases, you're still making progress towards your degree, so you're not falling behind. And most programs are not designed around a major. We often get questions, oh, well, I'm a mechanical engineer. What's the program that I need to do? And it doesn't work that way. There are some programs that are actually designed for engineering fields, but most of them are going to read something like University College London. And at that school, there's engineering, there's history, there's philosophy, there's different subjects. So that's another thing that you might not always find one that's designed for your major, but it doesn't mean that you can't study abroad or that you can find a program for you. So I share this simply so that students can expand their search beyond, major programs. But if you really want to study abroad in your major, or if it's the only way to make progress towards your degree, I'm going to pass it over to Elizabeth Ceja that can discuss a little bit more of we'll start with the easiest time to study abroad for engineering. And Elizabeth, just let me know when you're ready for me to click on to the next slide.
Okay, sounds good. Hi, everyone. I am Elizabeth. I am one of the academic counselors within the Office of Academic and Student Affairs, primarily working with bioengineering, civil, and chemical. So I'm just going to explain a little bit about studying abroad as an engineering student and just kind of wanting to start off with saying it's possible. And this is why we like to present this to you all so you understand that you can do it. So easiest times to study abroad for an engineering student. Typically for most majors, the summer of most years is always great. It gives you the most flexibility, whether it's a GE, tech breadth, major courses. That's always a great time. And for the most part as well, within the first 2 years for most majors. And I'll kind of break it down in a little bit, just based on the major, what makes the most sense. And we do also recommend, apart from general education courses, to also try to find equivalents to math, physics, and chemistry courses, because those are the lower divs you can kind of get out of the way while also studying abroad and getting that experience as well. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. Perfect. So now just breaking it down per major. So with bioengineering, typically students can study abroad during the fall of their second and third year. Keep in mind that means you're wanting to find equivalents for courses you would typically take in the fall of your second or third year. So for instance, finding an equivalent to EE 100, or taking EE 100 prior to your study abroad experience. That way you can kind of get that out of the way and do other courses. A few places that may have something similar to EE 100 would be University College Dublin, National University of Singapore, and University of Sussex. So things to keep in mind as a bioengineering student. With chemical engineering, the best time would be before your third year, typically because chemical engineering courses are only offered once a year. So as you get into your last 2 years, it becomes a lot more difficult to be able to go abroad while still finishing up your major requirements. So if you're chemical engineering, you want to try to do it before your third year. We can move on to the next one. Perfect. For civil and environmental engineering, it's recommended after the fall of your third year. Keep in mind, although I'm saying all of these different timeframes, summers are also a really good time as well. But for civil, after the fall of your third year, and that would then mean you would need to find courses equivalent to electives, which a lot of students have done before. Some have gotten quite a few electives done while abroad. So definitely an option as a civil student. For computer science and engineering, and computer engineering, it's typically recommended during the fall of your third year or fourth year. For electrical engineering, before your third year. And then we'll move on to the next ones. And then material science and engineering, it's typically recommended before your third year. And same thing for mechanical and aerospace engineering. Keep in mind, these are the recommendations we're giving you, but I would also highly recommend coming to speak with your major counselor. That way you can just talk to them about what your course schedule looks like for the time you're here. And then you can kind of pinpoint which quarter or summer makes the most sense for studying abroad. Can move on to the next slide. Thank you. So when taking non-UCLA courses, I want to talk a little bit about the course evaluation process for engineering. So when you are thinking of studying abroad, you want to make sure that you have the courses evaluated that you're intending to take abroad. Typically, we recommend doing this about a month in advance. You can do it a lot sooner than that, but try not to do it less than a month in advance. It does take a few weeks for us to get them evaluated and send you the results. So we want to make sure that you get that information before you take off for your study abroad experience. So where to go? Our website is czawasa.ucla.edu. Under that main page, you'll click on undergraduate tab, and then you'll go to summer session and transfer course equivalents, and then the URL is also listed right there. So once you go there, you'll see that little image on the right-hand side of this slide. There's two buttons. There's the course evaluation form as well as the message center. You'll fill out the form. It allows you to fill out 4 classes per form. So you can submit 4 classes, have them evaluated, get the results back, and then submit another 4 if you wanted to keep submitting. And then you'll also attach the syllabus for the courses in that message center button. So this will come to us, GEs. We do evaluate in-house, and then for engineering courses, tech breadths, we have the professors evaluate. So we'll have that sent to them, and then they'll give us the results, and we'll give that back to you. We definitely recommend turning in multiple courses to have backup options. That way, if you get a course and we say, no, it's unequivalent, you have a few other options for your study abroad experience. Once you return from studying abroad, you want to make sure to let us know once you see those courses populate on your DARS. At that point, you want to let us know and we'll update it and put the course into the major requirement that it's meeting. That way your DARS will be all up to date. And also keep in mind that you can't take more than 5 courses and apply it to your major requirements. So typically you're not taking that many courses abroad, but just keep that one in mind as well. We can go to the next slide.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And if students have any questions, again, plug them into the Q&A and we'll hopefully try to get to them in the Q&A component. Before we continue, I'll just make a quick plug. If any of you are following our keyword scavenger hunt to win a gift card, today's keyword of the day is Matsuri, Japanese festival. So just go to our website, IEO // and plug this in to enter before the end of the day today. But getting back to business. So a couple of sample programs, and I'm actually going to go through these very quickly because I realize we're actually going a little bit over time, and I want to make sure that we have time to have a conversation with our returnees. This is going to be recorded and it's going to be available for you. So if you want to return to any of these specific programs, do so. But I'm actually going to cover them a little bit more quickly than I probably would. So first we have the UCLA Travel Study Program. The example that I want to highlight for you all is that there's a specific program that's a material science engineering program that offers these specific courses. It's going to offer major elective credit for material science students, and there might be an option to get credit for technical breadth. This would be for petitioning, so this is not an automatic thing. So do consult with your engineering advising unit to see if that would work. So this is a program run by a UCLA faculty member in Cyprus. This is not engineering, but this is one of the ones where in Copenhagen, you can complete your writing 2 requirement, and literary and cultural analysis GE. So this is this faculty UCLA-led program where you're not doing engineering coursework, but you're still making progress towards your degree. And another similar program where you can take Italian language and you're making this is different requirements. You can make progress towards your literary and cultural or the historical analysis GE. So again, all 3 programs that I just highlighted, some are only with a UCLA professor in these different destinations. And global internship program. So this is a brand new opportunity, and that actually Andrew, one of our coordinators, is highlighting. And this, there's a specific track that's available for engineering students. And this specific track is available in different locations. There's one that's available in Berlin, one in Osaka, one in Toronto. It's a summer-long program. It's about 8 weeks long on site. The course itself is a little bit longer. It's online. And there's a specific internship course that you take, as well as an optional course, intercultural communication in the workplace. And I believe the optional course has been approved by the engineering school to satisfy the social analysis GE. Again, you want to consult with your department to make sure that that approval still stands. But this is an opportunity where it's a UCLA run program where you're interning at one of the companies at one of these sites. And this would be in person unless anything changes specifically with COVID. UCP programs. So these are programs that offer more of that the immersion university model. I normally would highlight and go into detail how, we have so many reputable universities that we partner with. You'll have the slides available to you so you can go into more detail. But, quickly, so, this is an opportunity where you can study at National University of Singapore and take whatever offerings are there. You can focus all exclusively in engineering. And I just highlight some of the sample courses that are offered across different disciplines in engineering. But you could also just focus on GEs while you're there. So again, you don't have to take engineering coursework on this. You can take whatever is offered there. Lund University is another destination that's actually quite popular with engineering students because they offer a lot extensive engineering coursework, but you can also just do GEs there instead. Seoul National University, similar, you can take courses at that institution. University of Edinburgh. So all of these are similar. And normally I would go into detail, but I want to focus our time a little bit more on allowing our returnees to sort of share a little bit more of their experience. And, every program that, focuses on GE-like courses, learn about Italian culture, Italian history, Italian society, and petition those for GEs. So these are also opportunities that are available for you as an engineering student. So moving to our Q&A panel with our returnees. So if the returnees want to sort of join us again, I'll first start off in the order that we have here. So we'll first go with our left panelist, moving on to the right. And if you could just first please introduce yourself and tell us maybe just in about 2 minutes a little bit about.
Okay. Hey guys, my name is Logan. I'm a third-year civil engineering major, and I studied in Dublin, Ireland last fall. So I know Elizabeth said that most civils study after the fall of their third year. So I actually went before I started taking any civil classes, and it worked out pretty well. I took, I'll talk about classes a little later, but I only had to shift around one class. Fall of your second year, you take statics, and then I just took the mechanical version the spring of my freshman year. So it worked out really well. When I went to Ireland, I chose Ireland because I wanted somewhere where I could get immersed with the culture and like take classes with local people. And I know that's different for everyone. So this was just like my reasoning. And I am a little Irish myself, if you look at my last name. So I wanted to kind of connect with my culture a little bit. Can you guys hear me? You guys are all frozen. Okay, cool. And then, so when I went over there were multiple housing options. I ended up staying in an apartment, but I know someone who was at UCLA who did homestay as well. So I didn't know there were like many options. There's not really like university like living available for people who are studying abroad. But I was living in an apartment with all college students from around the world. So I had roommates from Australia, one from Hong Kong, and then two from the East Coast. And so when I went over there, it was really easy to kind of get immersed with everyone. The class planning wasn't as easy. I did try to petition a lot of classes before, but Ireland's not the best at class planning. I'll just admit that. So I had to shift things around a bit, but it worked out really well. And I was able to take some prereqs for civil engineering, and then also some GEs as well, and then one for my minor, which I think we'll talk about classes a little later. But that's a brief kind of recap of why I chose Ireland, and I definitely recommend it. And behind me is Temple Bar, which I miss it a lot.
Excellent. Thank you, Logan. So Christy?
Hi, yeah. So I studied last fall as well, and it was the fall of my fourth year, and I'm now graduated. I graduated in June. But my program was at the University of Lyon, but there was an option to take classes in French with the other students in the university. And I took French in high school, but by my fourth year, like I had not touched French in 3 years. So I chose to take, they had like an English offering. And that was actually a program that the University of Lyon put together where they have people from all over the world come take classes in English at the university. So we had like a UC group within that group, but like the entire program was students from all over the world, like Argentina, Japan, Spain, Mexico, like all over. And so that was really cool. They did have a focus on like business and like culture studies. So I didn't take any CS classes. I took 2 GEs and 2 tech breath classes as far as ones that like satisfied UCLA requirements. They also had us take a French class and a French culture class. But it was a really like good experience as far as housing. They had they have a bunch of different options. Some people had like subsidized housing that the French government provides, and it's really cheap. It's like I think it's like 300 euros a month or so. It's like something really ridiculously cheap. I chose to do a homestay, and that was like slightly more expensive, but they give you all your meals, and like I got to practice French with my host family. And they like gave a bunch of like they lent me luggage and gave recommendations for places to travel and stuff. So that was a really cool experience. And I'd say maybe like half the people in my program did homestays and the other half did apartments or like subsidized housing. But yeah, and it was in fall. I know that's the recommendation for like CS. I didn't know that at the time. I thought it was weird to do it in fourth year, but it ended up working out. I only had electives left and GEs, so I satisfied a bunch in the process.
Thank you. And Christina?
Hi, so my name is Christina Gallup. I'm currently a fourth year bioengineering major, and I studied abroad last fall through UCAP at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, which is a really gorgeous campus. It overlooks the beach and is like embedded in a forest. The photo here is actually from campus itself. So that was a really great experience just to live there. And I was able to study abroad with my 2 good friends from high school pictured here as well. So that was kind of a unique thing that we got to do. And we're all engineers and we all took at least one engineering course. I took a material science for energy technologies course to satisfy a tech breath. And then I took 3 other GEs and an intro Cantonese course. And I lived in the student dorms with one other study abroad student who was from Australia. And I just really love the whole experience. Hong Kong is an amazing city, long history and culture, and it really kind of has it all. You know, there's gorgeous forests for hiking, there's really nice beaches, the city life is great, delicious food, and it's all, you know, accessible within like an hour and a half or so of public transit. You can get around the whole entire city. And then from Hong Kong itself, it's a great international hub to travel to other countries in Asia. I went to 4 other countries, so it was overall a really great experience.
Thank you for that. My next question, I'll leave it up to, you don't all have to answer the same question, so you can sort of popcorn among each other. So if it's relevant for you, then go for it. I'll start off with asking, was there an interesting class that you took on your study abroad program that you feel you would not have been able to take advantage at UCLA? And that could be within engineering or outside of engineering.
Yeah, I can start that off. So there was only like one class that I like really wanted to take going over there, and it was called Exploring the Sustainable City, and it was really neat. I don't think there's any class like that's quite like it at UCLA, but I'm sure there's similar classes like with environmental science. But this class was really cool because we took like looks at case studies from around the world, of places like Masdar City in UAE and like Hong Kong, and just places that are more advanced in kind of looking at the future of how to be sustainable and like how to sustain human life when our population grows. So that was like one of the classes that I really wanted to take going over there, and I was really lucky that it was available when I went over there. And then even more lucky. So when I went over there, I was like, I'm not going to take classes on Fridays because I want to travel. And that class was not on a Friday. And so I was just so thankful that I was able to take that class. And then I worked my other classes kind of around. So I never had to take a Friday class.
And any others? And again, not everybody has to answer this one, but if there's another interesting class that you could share.
Yes, definitely. I'd say, well, all my classes were really interesting ones that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to do. Probably my favorite was an environmental history class that I took to satisfy history GE. And I found it really interesting because it looked at like different environmental issues, first from like a local Hong Kong perspective. So I got to learn about the history there as well, which I really didn't know much about. And then like a regional perspective. So how this environmental issue, like so topic like, water or, just we did like 7 different units. So the region and then how it's impactful and like the basic history of that environmental topic in the world perspective. We went like down to a beach and did like a beach cleanup. So I found that to be a really interesting class. And then I'd also say that the material science for energy technology class I took was really interesting as well as a tech breath. And that's not something that I saw offered at UCLA. So I'm really glad that I was able to take that class.
Excellent.
I also, real quick, I had a French history of cinema class where they, like, Lyon is the birthplace of cinema. So they basically started us at the birthplace of cinema, and then we watched a bunch of movies that like chronicled the history of France, which was really cool, just like being in France and being able to learn about the history through movies, and like learn about the like significance of each movie and the directors and stuff too. That like definitely I wouldn't have been able to take in the US. And also fully second the no classes on Fridays thing. I tried very hard to get that to happen, and it was very worth it.
Awesome. My next question, again, feel free to, anybody can chime in on this one. Were any of you involved in any extracurricular groups or activities that were part of your school?
Yeah, so I was involved in like a family program, basically, where we were matched in this family group with students from HKUST and then other study abroad students from all different programs, which was a really great experience to, meet people from all these different countries and cultures. We went hiking, we went to dinner. One of my favorite memories with this group is we went out to karaoke one time, and they do karaoke very large there. That it was like a 4-hour session, and we were just jamming to songs from all different languages from people. Everyone was just pulling up their favorite songs from their countries, and it was a really great experience. So that was a really great program that I got to participate in.
Thank you. Others, extracurriculars or activities?
Yeah, so going to Ireland, like I was like, I'm gonna get involved and like meet a bunch of Irish people, and I was luckily able to do that. I joined like a Christian group there, and we went on like retreats and hikes, and that was awesome. And then one thing I didn't go over there intending to do, I joined a comedy club, and I was actually able to like take this like not like official class, but like learn like do this class on stand-up comedy, and then like towards the end of my program, like I did like a stand-up routine in front of a bunch of Irish people, and it was really cool and like an experience I'll never forget. And then lastly, the like main sport in Ireland other than like rugby is called Gaelic football, and I can't really explain it because it's this whack sport where like the rules like they don't make sense. But I like took this like class that was offered learning how to play it, and it was just a blast. Like it was like only like a 4-week course, but I learned all these like rules, and we were able to play like against Irish people, and we lost, but it's okay because they were really good.
That's awesome. And Christy, was there anything specific for you on your program?
Yeah. Like we also had like a bunch of sports programs, which was kind of nice. It was like IM, but less rigid than it is at UCLA. Like you could just pop in at any time to any like of the sports. And so I did like volleyball, ping pong, like yoga, Pilates. Like you could just pop in, and it was a great way to meet students that were actually like from France, and I ended up making friends with people, and like they were telling us about like, oh, this is the actual like best bar that you want to go to, and like we'd go play volleyball and then like go to a bar afterwards. So it was really nice to like have that camaraderie with people who were actually from there, since my classes were with people who were also foreign exchange students, which was also cool. But it was nice to like do sports and have that like connection to the local people.
Awesome, thank you. I'm going to move on to questions that other students might have for you all. If nobody has questions, I might throw one more at you from our moderated sort of panel here. But let me just go here. Folks, if you have any questions for our returnees, please type them in. There's a question that came in, and it feels like I don't even know who would be the best person to answer this, but the question is, are there a lot of options to take equivalent upper division CS courses abroad? And that one's going to require probably like an advising session, probably with your engineering school or even with the study abroad team. I'll say this, there are resources that we have available. Check out our Studying Abroad GE's recorded session. It actually goes a little bit into a tool that you can use where you can see what CS courses students have done in the past on study abroad. You can talk to your advisors to see what you can do. And in terms of the number of courses available, it's going to depend on the school. So perhaps something like Christie's program, from what I think I know, they really don't have much engineering in English available there. But in a program like Christina's program, they might have dozens of CS courses available, or in Singapore at Lund or another institution. So it's really, there's a combination of components to your question.
Yes, I could just add,
Oh yeah, please go ahead.
I was going to add that both of my friends who I studied abroad with, they're engineers, one is CS, and they both took some CS elective courses. Their schools are different, but I think in general, I found that courses to satisfy just general electives or tech breaths, it's really easy to get that transfer credit. If you're trying to, satisfy a specific course, it's a little bit trickier and you need to probably talk with your advisor more on that. But for just to generally say, is this a CS class? It's going to be pretty likely it can transfer over more so.
I also have a number of friends who studied abroad in CS, and Lund and either King's College London or University College London. I had friends who were able to take upper div CS classes and get them satisfied there. Just make sure you talk and make sure that they will be satisfied before you go, because you don't want to take the whole class and then find out at the end that like it didn't count for anything.
That's where that course evaluation form comes in. So keep that one in mind so that you can make sure you get all those classes situated prior.
See, we tag teamed this question. That was awesome. Thank you. All right, so we'll clear it. Unless there's other questions coming through, I'm just going to close with one last question for our returnees. And that's going to be, we actually have more often students study abroad, either for engineers or either summer or fall. And our panel, I usually have some summer students, not this time around. I don't know why. But I actually like the fact that, often students think that they cannot make study abroad happen during the academic year because it requires more planning, and it does. But, the three students here from different engineering types are sort of evidence that you can make it happen. Any tips that you would have for a student that has reservations about studying abroad during the academic year? It could either be the academic planning that goes into it, or missing UCLA or something like that. Returnees?
Yeah, I definitely, going my second year, I was like a little hesitant because I was like, I just met all like these people my first year, and like I don't want to like lose like friends. I don't want everyone to get closer, and then I'll come back and like when I came back, I like went into like had random roommates again. But looking back, I was like, in 20 years, I'm gonna look back and I'm not gonna even remember that. I'm just gonna remember going to like Ireland, going to Europe. So definitely like take that chance, go for it, because it's going to be an experience you're never going to forget. Why I went in the fall is honestly just because I wanted more time. I didn't want like a shorter program. I wanted like a full, like ended up being like a semester abroad. And I just like advice, travel anytime, any chance you get. Like don't like take advantage of while you're over there. Like I was able to like go to 14 different countries and but also experience your local country too, because like the most beautiful places I ever went were Ireland, and like I'll never forget like the west coast of Ireland. It was just so beautiful. And then one quick advice I have, if you're comfortable with it, go to some countries alone, travel alone, only if you're comfortable with it. But it's just an experience where you're like, I'm not going to say like you find yourself, but you're able to do everything on like your timeline. You can eat when you want to eat. You can see the museums you want to see, and you get a lot more done. And I think that was like part of the reason like I was able to do so much when I was over there. Like I did travel some places with other people, but I just didn't get as much like done that I wanted to do. So like, again, if you're comfortable, like that's what I recommend, like go travel somewhere alone. It's really fun. All right, I yield my time.
Thanks, Logan.
I can talk a little bit too about like as far as the recruiting perspective, because that was my main concern was like, especially my fourth year, I was really worried about studying abroad in fall because I was like, that's the peak recruiting season for CS. I don't know how I'm going to make that work. I didn't really want to do summers because I wanted to use my summers to take advantage of internships. And so what I ended up doing was I interned that summer, and because I did a semester program, I had to cut my internship a week early, cut it a week short, but my company was like super fine with that. They were like, yes, of course, we would love for you to experience the world. Go for it. So I was like, okay, cool. And then as far as recruiting, it was actually a lot more possible. Like maybe because it's CS and it's tech, like a lot of people were really willing to change on-site interviews to virtual on-sites. The one difficulty was just like the time zone. A lot of my interviews ended up being at like 10 p.m. So I'd have like a full day of class, extracurriculars, hanging out with people, and then get back to my like room and then do technical interviews from like 10 to midnight. And so it was really tiring, but it was worth it. Like I was able to get a couple like offers even from remotely. I also had a return offer from my internship, so I leveraged that as like a backup option. I ended up taking that because it was my favorite option, but that was something that I was worried about. But I can assure you, like it's definitely possible. Just like be very transparent with companies when you're like talking to them. I also did something which is kind of crazy, but I went back for Grace Hopper. Like I took a couple days off from my study abroad and like flew back to Florida to recruit in Grace Hopper. But like I had a scholarship that covered it, so it was completely like free basically to go. I don't recommend that. Like it didn't actually end up being that helpful, but like if you want to make something happen, like you can make it happen. And yeah, it was totally worth it. Also, yeah, definitely like to touch on Logan's point about traveling alone. Like if you're worried about traveling alone, a lot of these programs you'll be able to find friends who are super down to travel with you. But like I even as a girl traveling alone in Europe, like I did that a couple times and it was like totally fine. I don't know if anyone's like worried about that, but like it was like fun, and I can totally agree that it's a very interesting and different experience, but totally worth it to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would echo some of the same things. Like if you're unsure about it, definitely look into it and try to pursue it if possible. Like it's a really great experience that you'll never forget. I wasn't even sure I was going to do it until kind of close to the deadline almost in sophomore year. But then some of my friends were wanting to go, and I was like, oh, like this will be a lot of fun. I was able to kind of figure it out academically as well. Like I took E100 in the spring before before the year, and then took a lab class that would normally be taken in the fall, like a little bit later. So it's definitely doable if you plan ahead, even not that far ahead, and talk to your advisors for sure. It's definitely doable, and it's a really great experience. And I guess similarly with recruitment, my friend also was CS and in the recruiting phase for internships, and she was able to make it work and got an offer. And I had a couple interviews that happened remotely, and it was a little difficult doing them at like 6-7 a.m., but you can make it work, and definitely worth the experience, and travel as much as you can for sure. It's a really, just take advantage of the opportunity, and it's something that you'll never forget, and just do as much as you can, meet as many people as possible. Sorry, someone's knocking my door, so I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Christina. This really shows us that I think next session, we're going to have to create a little bit of longer session because we had to sort of cram some of this information. And our next session is actually starting. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, panelists. You've been amazing. I really wish we could have more time chatting with you because really you are a highlight of these sessions. I'll just simply leave you off that the study abroad office, we're not physically in Murphy Hall, but I think we're even more accessible than we were before. We're doing virtual drop-in advising, so you don't need an appointment for any of that. Visit our website /contact. Monday through Thursday, we're offering that drop-in advising for one-on-one advising. So if you're more looking already at a specific program, you've already explored our pages, you can schedule those one-on-one advising appointments with our study abroad office. But we also encourage you to connect with your engineering school department. I think they generally sort of connect with you via the message center. So connect with them and ask questions, what courses can count But I think that would also require you to already start exploring some opportunities so that, you're presenting, will this work? And you start that petitioning process. We're going to wrap up because again, our next session is starting, but thank you all so much for joining us. The session is recorded, so it will be available on our YouTube channel by Monday, we hope. And thank you for joining us, everybody. Have a good day. Thank you all.